Assalamu alaikum. This is Mongra Singh welcoming you all to the English news from BTV Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. A Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus to address 80th United Nations General Assembly session tonight. Young people agents of change around the world, says Chief Advisor. Expatriate Bangladeshis can cast voters prior to 14 days of next parliamentary election. Interim government trying to bring Rohingya issue in global limelight for durable solution, says Disaster Management and Relief Advisor in Chattogram. Marginal farmers in salt cultivation deprived of fair price as middlemen reap the fruit. Palestine ready to work with world leaders to implement peace plan for Israel and Palestine, says Palestinian president. And Bangladesh lose to Pakistan by 11 runs in their final Asia Cup Super 4 in Dubai. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. The Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus will address the 80th United Nations General Assembly UNGA session tonight. According to the schedule, the session will begin at 9 a.m. local time, while the Chief Advisor will address the session as the 10th speaker on the day. In his speech, Professor Yunus is expected to highlight the interim government's reform initiatives, the aspiration of the July 2024 mass uprising, its firm commitment to holding free, fair and inclusive elections in February 2026, trial for July massacre and Rohingya issue. The Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus said the young people are recognized as agents of change around the world, suggesting creating employment opportunities for them. The Chief Advisor made the remarks while addressing the high-level meeting on the 30th anniversary of World Programme of Action for Youth at the UN headquarters on the sidelines of the 80th UN General Assembly. Professor Yunus said, "The technology offers enormous promise for inclusion through innovation, but its benefits must not be placed behind walls of greed." Bangladesh have launched a national youth entrepreneur policy to provide finance, skills and market access, enabling young people to be job creators rather than job seekers, he added. Professor Yunus said globally Bangladesh firmly supports the World Programme of Action for Youth, a Pact for the Future, UN Youth Strategy 2030 and the Youth Peace and Security Agenda. But no nation can ensure youth empowerment alone, he added. Last year, he said, Bangladesh witnessed the extraordinary power of youth. The Chief Advisor said the youth rose with courage to end years of autocracy, reset the nation's course, and entrusted him with the responsibility of steering reforms and democratic transition. The Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus attended a high-level event titled Human Rights for Everyone, Everywhere, Core of Our Shared Humanity. The UN rights body OHCHR organized the event on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Professor Yunus was called for finding ways to regulate technologies to prevent their misuse.
The amount of that abuse comes from the concentration of wealth itself. If you look at the media, or any communication. Gradually, it becomes in the control of fewer and fewer hands because you have the money, you have the authority, you have the political power. You do that. Here, we are standing for freedom, but at the same time, you are creating a mechanism by which you take it away completely, forever. You cannot make any noise. So this is one thing that we have to come back. Is freedom, yes, but freedom with some limits. You cannot go on doing this because you cannot abuse that power of freedom. Particularly, it becomes critical in the face of technology. Technology is coming. They use their freedom. Freedom to abuse. Freedom to say anything. Massive way. So where does our freedom go? Which freedom are we protecting now? Fake news, abusive campaigns, those who control finances, those who want to control businesses, or any political ambitions. So where do you limit that? So this is one, simultaneously, we have to address that. As the technology proceeds, AI comes in. How do you fight with the AI to protect your rights that you have been describing? And we are protecting all the movement that we have created over years. So how do you put the limits on the AI and future technologies that will be coming? So when you try to protect one, you release another power on the other side. How you manage that? So that management issue becomes more important for us.
The Chief Advisor's Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam briefed journalists detailed activities of Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus during the fourth day of his visit to New York. The busy day included meetings with business leaders and world leaders and discussions covering economic relations, diplomatic issues and internal reforms.
আজকে সকালে উনি ইউথের উপরে একটা কনফারেন্সে জয়েন করেছিলেন। একটু আগে উনি ইউথ নিয়ে আরেকটা কনফারেন্সে উনি এটা কো-চেয়ার করছেন। এই খুবই ইম্পর্টেন্ট এগুলো, এটা নিয়ে এটা 2 ঘন্টার একটা সেশন, সেখানে উনি এটাকে মডারেটিং করবেন। এছাড়া আজকে ডাচ প্রাইম মিনিস্টারের সাথে ওনার 1-to-1 একটা মিটিং হয়েছে, খুবই ইম্পর্টেন্ট মিটিং ছিল। আরেকটা হচ্ছে যে উনি একটা ফোর্ড ফাউন্ডেশনে হিউম্যান রাইটস নিয়ে, গ্লোবাল হিউম্যান রাইটস নিয়ে একটা প্যানেল ডিসকাশন ছিল, সেখানে উনি ছিলেন, সেখানে উনি বক্তব্য পেশ করেছেন।
Expatriate Bangladeshis will be able to cast their votes around 14 days ahead of the 30 national parliamentary election. The Election Commission aims to ensure the participation of 50 lakh expatriate voters in the upcoming polls. Bangladeshi missions abroad are already conducting voter registration for expatriates. Based on the registrations, the Election Commission will begin printing ballots for expatriates in phases. Ballot papers will be sent out 28 days in advance for this purpose. Only registered voters will be eligible to cast their votes through postal ballots. Meanwhile, government and private sector employees, prison inmates and citizens engaged in election duties will also be able to cast their votes through postal ballots this time. However, like expatriate voters, they must complete registration beforehand. The ballot papers will be sent to them 1 week before the election. The Postal Department will monitor the delivery of both domestic and international ballots through the Global Positioning System. Disaster Management and Relief Advisor Farooq-e-Azam Bir Pratik said the interim government is trying to bring Rohingya issue in the limelight at the global stage for its durable solution. The advisor said this as the chief guest at a meeting on Rohingya crisis in the Eyes of Chattogram, Humanity, Security and Future, organized by Chattogram Forum at July Biplov Sriti Hall at Chattogram Press Club. Farooq-e-Azam said Rohingya crisis is also a political issue and should be resolved from political point of view. Otherwise, the solution will not be sustainable. Bangladesh Human Rights Foundation General Secretary Advocate Jia Habib Hassan presided over the meeting, while Chattogram Metropolitan Union General Secretary Salah Noman moderated. Additional Secretary of the Refugee Relief and Repatriation Commissioner's Office, Abu Salam Mohammad Ubaidullah, attended the functions as a special guest. The meeting was also addressed by former Chattogram Education Board Chairman Professor Ahmed Hussain, Arakan Rohingya Alliance Chairman Nurul Islam, Chattogram University Law Department Assistant Professor Said Hassan Khalid, and journalist Hussain Chiyat.